Over the years, many Dorito have come and gone, from the beloved Doritos Jack to the more weird ones like Doritos X-13D. And today, we're going to attempt every Dorito ever made, in the US at least. From the core flavors to the discontinued legends and every big variation in between. So go grab your favorite bag, crack open a Mountain Dew, and today, sit back as we look back at every Dorito ever. It all starts in 1964 at Disneyland. Yeah, were you expecting that? The park at the time had a Mexican restaurant called Casa de Fritos, who were throwing away tons of misshapen tortillas every day. Until one day, a salesman said, "Hey, why don't you just cut those up and fry them?" And it was an instant hit. So much so that within the first year of their business, they were bought out by Frito-Lay. And in 1966, the very first Dorito hit shelves. Just plain salted toasted corn flavor, but 2 years later, they dropped a taco flavor, which sold pretty well. Well enough for them to decide to branch out more. And 4 years later, in 1972, they dropped the most iconic chip maybe in the whole world, nacho cheese. And these things were a hit. Every single one of you watching has had these at least once in your life, don't lie. And the craziest part was, they were still brainstorming more flavors. And in 1986, they dropped Cool Ranch, which fully cemented Doritos as a cultural icon.
Cool Ranch.
From there, the core lineup slowly grew. Spicy Nacho in 1997, Salsa Verde in 2002, which is my personal favorite, Spicy Sweet Chili in 2008, Tapatio and Flamas in 2011, Sweet Tangy Barbecue in 2023, and Golden Sriracha in 2025, while also releasing Taco pretty frequently. But that's just the boring stuff everyone knows. Let's get into the more obscure stuff now.
Once you hit 30, it's all over. Your legs are shot, your whole body goes to pot. Forget about sports entirely. You have to be serious all the time. You can't eat anything that tastes good. Creamed corn.
Who says you have to give up the things you like? Give up something you won't miss, like a little oil. Ruffles Light, Cheetos Light, Doritos Light. Never give up the taste.
In 1982, Doritos tried to go healthy with Doritos Crispy Light, rebranded in 1989 to just Doritos Light, and was part of a larger Frito-Lay line of light snacks. The main difference was that these Doritos were baked, not fried, which made them contain only 1/3 of the oil. Problem was, they tasted like cardboard with an identity crisis. They would try to rebrand once more in 1998 with Doritos Wow, but it didn't last and quietly died in the early 2000s. However, healthier versions of Doritos would continue to exist, with most recently the Simply line, which is made with whole grains and has no artificial flavors or colors, coming in white cheddar nacho and zesty Cool Ranch. In 2004, Doritos tried to replicate the success of the hot new snack Takis by releasing Doritos Rollitos, which came in 3 flavors, Nacho Cheesier, Zesty Taco, and Cooler Ranch. People enjoyed how easy they were to grab and the extra crunch, but ironically, for being called Nacho Cheesier, a lot of people said these things just lack taste, which is wild because if you had a Taki, that shit is powerful.
That was intense. Takis are seriously intense. Takis, face the intensity.
So interesting that they didn't mega load these with dust. In the end, they were discontinued in 2008. Alright, let's move to a more iconic and beloved Dorito line. In 1998, Doritos dropped the single most divisive product in chip history, Doritos 3Ds. Puffy, hollow, basically Doritos version of Bugles, coming in 3 flavors, Nacho Cheesier, Jalapeno Cheddar, and Zesty Ranch. Most people said the flavor tasted identical to their chip counterparts, but the new texture just had a certain elevation. Safe to say, people worship these things, but even with all the love, they would be discontinued in 2004. However, in 2020, Frito-Lay brought them back as Doritos 3D Crunch in chili cheese nacho and spicy ranch. I remember these myself, and honestly, I thought they were pretty good. The chili cheese flavor was actually good, and I remember having a little kick to it, while the spicy ranch was basically just Cool Ranch flavored, but like a little hotter. Sadly though, they would be slowly pulled off store shelves by 2023, leaving it as yet another Doritos product fans will beg to bring back. Moving on, around 2007, Doritos would come out with a line they still do sometimes, Doritos Collisions, which were a bag of Doritos that contained 2 flavors. Why choose 2 bags when you can have 1 bag with 2? It originally came in 2 flavors, Chicken Sizzler / Zesty Salsa and Hot Wings / Blue Cheese. And these things did really well, especially the Hot Wings Blue Cheese flavor, which as a combo Doritos would hold on to for a while. This led Doritos to slowly releasing more over time. Pizza Cravers and Ranch, as well as Zesty Taco Chipotle Ranch in 2008, Cheesy Enchilada Sour Cream in 2009, Blaze Ultimate Cheddar in 2018, Intense Pickle Cool Ranch in 2024, Loaded Taco Nacho Cheese in 2025, and they also brought back Pizza and Ranch in 2025, but rebranded it to promote the new season of Stranger Things. All in all, it's a pretty nifty idea, and one that Doritos probably won't get rid of anytime soon.
And bolder than taking that behemoth and breaking Evel Knievel's bus jumping record by 2.5 buses. And they're crunchy. Crunchier than driving through a fine china shop that sells professional grade fireworks out of the back.
Alright, I'll make this section fairly quick since I already have a full video already on Doritos Jacked, which I suggest you go watch after this one. But for those who don't know, in 2012, Doritos released one of its most iconic lines of chips ever, Doritos Jacked. They were thicker, bolder, and 40% bigger than a typical Dorito. They opened with flavors like Enchilada Supreme and Smoky Chipotle Barbecue, both instant hits. And in 2013, they pushed out more flavors like Spicy Street Taco, more on that in a minute, and the most notable Dorito in this whole video, Ranch Dipped Hot Wings. And oh boy, did that flavor smack. Ranch Dipped Hot Wings is easily probably the most requested Dorito to bring back. People love the extra seasoning on these things and the extra crunch. All this prompted them to do a sort of Mountain Dew style marketing attempt in mid to late 2014, where they released 3 bags of Doritos Jacked in mystery flavors. The bags were coded with numbers instead of descriptive flavors, with customers being asked to try them and voting on their favorite, with that one becoming a real flavor, with the winner being Spicy Street Taco. However, all flavors were released after the contest anyway. Bag 404 was Caribbean Citrus Jerk, Bag 855 was the Spicy Street Taco, and bag 2653 was Chocolate Chipotle Bacon. And I don't know, that sounds kind of interesting to me. I kind of wish I'd gotten to try it. And lastly, they did a variation of 2 of their lines with Doritos Jacked 3D in 2015, coming in 2 flavors, Jalapeno Pepper Jack and Bacon Cheddar Ranch. Although they were nothing like either of the product lines they were claiming to mix, and people claim that the cheese flavor in both was just kind of funky or off-putting. Sadly though, the Jacked line as a whole was discontinued in 2019, and Pepsi Frito-Lay hasn't stopped hearing about it since. And well, if you thought those Doritos Jacked mystery flavors were weird, let's move back to 2007, when Doritos decided to do a different kind of marketing stunt. Except this time, instead of multiple flavors, it was just one. It came in a black bag that just read Doritos X-13D, with a little note on the bottom that said, Notes, All-American Classic. As for the texture, it was just a normal kind of Dorito. The internet guessed for weeks what it could be, but I mean, it wasn't too hard to figure out that it was a cheeseburger flavor with the All-American Classic note at the bottom. And this would eventually go on to become part of the late night lineup, which we'll get to in a bit.
These are terrible. Please, take them off the shelf.
Doritos flavor shots were released in 2019, and these things were nuts. Literally, they were Doritos peanuts. They came in handheld bags, perfect for taking on the go, and had 3 flavors: nacho cheese, flaming hot nacho cheese, and fiery habanero. And if you feel confused or gaslit right now because you thought Doritos flavor shots was a real chip, don't worry, you're not wrong, because actually in 2009, Doritos released 2 flavors of chips called flavor shots that came in Atomic Chili Limon and Blazing Buffalo Rush. Both were just nacho cheese Doritos, except they came with a little flavoring packet that you put on the chips yourself. It was really an odd idea, and if not for a few forums online, would probably be impossible to find. I'm still not entirely sure if it was even sold in the US or if it was sold in like Canada, but this website I found mentions the Doritos X-13D in the same article and says that they bought them at a Circle K for $1.29. So who knows. But from the reviews you'll find, most people say the seasoning packet barely stayed on the Doritos, and while it did taste good, the whole concept was just like odd. Like, why didn't they just put the seasoning on in the factory?
And now here's a word from our sponsor.
I don't want to get up, go to work, go outside in the cold, start the car. This shit sucks every morning.
Dude, enough already. Just drink some of this.
If you want to wake up and feel real clean energy like me, then go to w.gg right now and use code SaskiaWorld for 10% off your order. They have cool flavors, all made with real caffeine extracted from coffee fruit. They have cool, totally leak-proof water bottles, and even a collab with popular anime Chainsaw Man. So, what are you waiting for? Go to w.gg and use code SaskiaWorld right now. So remember the X-13D Doritos I was talking about? Well, they were a part of a larger line of Doritos that they bring back from time to time called Doritos Late Night. Originally coming out in 2009, Doritos Late Night came in iconic bags and were meant to be eaten late at night when you're hammered. No, not actually. That's just like the marketing scheme for them. They came in two flavors originally, Tacos at Midnight and Last Call Jalapeno Popper, both of which came out to good reviews, and eventually in 2010, the all-night American Cheeseburger was added to the roster, which was just the X-13D flavor. However, all of these were limited time and were eventually pulled off store shelves by 2011. It wouldn't be until 2025 that the line would make a resurgence with the loaded taco flavor for a limited time. And good thing it was only limited time, because these ones did not hit the mark, with people saying that it was just lacking that taco flavor you're expecting. You might still find some kicking around in super slow stores in small towns or something, but other than that, the line is pretty much dead again. Moving along, let's get into some spicy content. And no, not that kind. Damn gooners. In 2010, Doritos dropped my personal favorite line ever, Doritos Degree Burns. The concept was simple. They released 3 flavors, each escalating in spiciness, with there being a first, second, and third degree burn. Yeah, hot ones, Doritos did it first. The first degree was blazing jalapeno and wasn't too intense, about the same heat level as spicy nacho Doritos, but with a jalapeno kick. The second degree amped things up with fiery buffalo, and these were definitely spicier. While kinda lacking on the buffalo flavor, the heat was there. Those were probably the hottest Doritos ever to have been made already. Until the third degree burn came out, which was scorching habanero. And no, these weren't no Pocky or anything, but man did it have such a kick to it. I remember it being actually hot and tasting good, which for spice heads out there like me is a huge thing, because most spicy snacks claim to be spicy, but they just taste like hot sauce, but are never actually hot. So these were a huge hit with real spicy heads.
This is third degree, so you're gonna try it, you're gonna eat it, you're gonna like it.
However, the demographic is obviously in the minority of chip lovers, and Doritos would discontinue these shortly after their release around late 2011. While we're here though, I figure why not talk about Flaming Hot also. Doritos wouldn't get Flaming Hotified all the way until 2019, when they combined the flavor with the classic nacho cheese. And although very different from previous spicy Doritos, they were still a hit, especially with a new era of consumers, leading them to release Flaming Hot Limon in 2021 and Flaming Hot Cool Ranch in 2021, both of which you can still get today. So remember Doritos Rolitos, the Takis knockoff? Well, they weren't done with that yet, because in 2012 they released a new rolled up chip called Doritos Dinamitas. And can we just take a moment to acknowledge the crazy, like, Spanish sounding names of these things? Like, I know Doritos is made in a Mexican restaurant, but I don't know, they just sound so like bizarre to me. Doritos Dinamitas originally came in Nacho Picoso and Chili Limon, and people actually really vibed with these, especially in parts of the US where Takis still weren't sold super regularly. The nacho flavor was described as the normal nacho cheese Dorito, but a tad spicier, while the Chili Limon was just a direct Takis Fuego knockoff. They continued to release flavors like Fiery Habanero in 2014, Mojo Criollo in 2015, which was like a sweet habanero flavor, Flaming Hot Queso in 2021, and most recently, Extra Extra Flaming Hot in 2024. There was also a fun variation in 2014 where they did a collision bag of Flaming Hot Cheetos and Chili Limon Doritos Dinamitas, which was in part due to the extremely viral song that came out a few years earlier, Hot Cheetos and Takis.
Hot Cheetos and Takis. Hot Cheetos and Takis.
Yeah, remember that? They also decided in 2023 to use this line to release Doritos Dinamita Sticks, which were like Chester fries, which is also a Frito-owned brand, but like, whatever. They came in 2 flavors initially, Smoky Chili Queso and Hot Honey Mustard, and they also did well. So in 2024, they released Tangy Fiery Lime. Most variations of these are still available today, although some have been quietly discontinued. So good luck hunting out there.
There is boldness everywhere.
I quit! Has the world gone completely bold?
Prepare for the boldness, coming soon.
Alright, here's some more niche Doritos products I decided to mix together. First, Doritos Mix, which was released in 2016. It came in 2 flavors, Taco Explosion and Cheese Explosion. It was kind of like its own version of Munchies, as each one came with a different Dorito variation and a different flavor that matched the overall profile. For example, Taco Explosion had Spicy Nacho Doritos, Taco Dinamitas, Sour Cream Corn Twists, and Salsa Jack 3Ds. And for the cheese variation, it had Nacho Cheese Doritos, Jumpin' Jack Dinamitas, 4 Cheese Corn Twists, and Spicy Nacho Jack 3Ds. However, these would ultimately be pulled off store shelves by 2022. In that same year, they also released Doritos Dips, which were meant to accompany the chips, obviously, coming in 2 flavors also, Spicy Nacho Cheese and Cool Ranch Jalapeno. And I remember trying the Spicy Nacho Cheese one, which is not good cold by the way, but when heated up, it kind of just tastes like a Doritos Nacho Queso. I never tried the Cool Ranch one, but reviews say it tastes pretty identical to Cool Ranch Doritos, but with a much more noticeable kick, both of which are still being sold today. 2022 seemed to be the year of innovation for Dorito, because not only did they release the dips, they also dropped Doritos Mini, which were, well, mini Doritos that come in Pringles type containers. They came in 2 flavors, Nacho Cheese and Cool Ranch. And I mean, there's not really much else to say, it's literally just mini Doritos. I mean, I guess they're kind of like puffier and crunchier because they're so small when they get fried, but you get the point.
Your favorite snacks. Mini but mighty flavor.
And before we end the video, let's do a quick fire Hall of Fame for all the discontinued and other niche Dorito flavors that have come and gone over the years. Doritos Baja Picante, Doritos Baja Fiery Mango, Doritos Blaze, Doritos Blazing Buffalo Ranch, Doritos Fiery Habanero, Golden Sriracha Doritos, Doritos Guacamole, Doritos Hot Mustard, and also Tangy Ketchup, Jumping Jack Cheese Doritos, Doritos Pizza Supreme, Doritos Poppin' Jalapeno, Doritos Nacho Cheese, and Cool Ranch Roulette, which were just the normal flavors of those chips but with a few spicier ones thrown in there. Doritos Screaming Sriracha, Supreme Cheddar Doritos, Sizzling Picante Doritos, Doritos Tangy Pickle, and Doritos Tangy Ranch, Doritos Ultimate Cheddar, Wasabi Doritos, and Extra Extra Flaming Hot Nacho Doritos. And if I missed any, make sure to let me know in the comments below.
Well, howdy, let me guess, you've been waiting for Cool Ranch flavored Doritos, and I can't say I blame you. Creamy, Cool Ranch seasonings. And those ingredients, what are we talking there? Maybe a tomato, an onion or 2?
Looking back, Doritos is one of the only brands that can drop a flavor called Flaming Hot Cool Ranch and nobody even blinks anymore. Some flavors will live forever, like Nacho Cheese and Cool Ranch obviously, while others die in a blaze of glory like Doritos Jacked or 3Ds. Only time will tell what comes next for the brand. Although I can't help but point out that with the movie, TV, and video game markets being in like the whole remake, rebirth era, I just don't see why snacks don't do that more also. I mean, nostalgia is one of the most capitalized things ever in today's day and age, and a lot of these things still have really big cult followings. So I just don't get why they don't bring them back, even if it's just for a limited time. Also, I just want to give a quick shout out to taquitos.net, which is just a snack tasting website, but they were super beneficial in finding most of the years they came out, as well as reviews on a lot of these Doritos. So, W website. Anyway, which discontinued Dorito do you miss the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe so you can see more videos like this in the future. And let me know what brand you want to see me do this on next. Takis? Pringles? Cheetos? Drop it below. And remember, anything can be special. It's just how you look at it. Peace out.